This is from the Bleacher Report. This is also very interesting. So, ranking NFL coordinators who have the biggest impact on the 2023 season. They say number 1, Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Number 2, Bill O'Brien, offensive coordinator of the Patriots. Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator, Dolphins. They got Monken, offensive coordinator for the Ravens at 4. They say Jim Schwartz, defensive coordinator for the Browns, is 9. The Browns were not a good defensive football team in 2022, and that might be an understatement. A respectable 14th in yards allowed, but 20th in points allowed, 25th against the run. For the Browns to contend in a loaded AFC North, the defensive improvement is going to have to translate on Sundays. I will be very surprised if it doesn't. And this is one thing, and we'll get a little bit more into some of the Hall of Fame stuff next segment. I want to see that defense because you're not going to hide the style of defense that you're going to play. You're not going to have Myles Garrett or any of those guys, but they're going to play the wide 9 and they're going to get after whomever takes the ball from center.
They are, and pressure is the number 1 key to what Jim Schwartz is trying to do with this defense. You're going to see him. They're going to come up with. He is the master, and I saw this when he coached in Detroit. The asynchronous pass rush, which is not something that we've seen in Cleveland in a while. That's where the defensive end will deliberately keep for account to let the tackle effectively take himself out of the play. That Jim Schwartz loves coaching that and loves using it. It's very difficult to defend against as an offensive tackle. You're going to see Myles Garrett, you're going to see Zadarius Smith doing these things. The biggest key for me, the Cleveland Browns were 32nd in the league in stopping the run on first downs last year. When teams ran the ball against them on 1st and 10, they gained an average of 5.26 yards per carry. That's the worst in the league. They were one of 4 teams that were over 5 yards per carry on first downs allowed. You want to get better? Stop them on first down so it's not 2nd and 4. Make it 2nd and 8. Make it 3rd and 9. Get into more of those situations where that pass rush can pin its ears back and go get you. That's what Jim Schwartz is all about. He has his foibles. The wide 9 is vulnerable to inside-outside runners. It's very vulnerable, unfortunately, to running quarterbacks, and that's a problem when you got Lamar Jackson on the schedule a couple times a year. But maybe that's why JOK is so important. To go back to the last question, I think you're going to see Schwartz be very important. I championed him. I remember coming on the show. I think it was actually the last time I was on. It was right after he was hired. I was very bullish on it. I still am. I do want to see it tighten the screws just a little bit, but I think he's going to be critically important to what goes on. Look, and the biggest thing that you're going to see, Joe Woods. I don't want to beat that dead horse. He was not a guy who emotionally fired up his players. Jim Schwartz is a guy, he's going to be in his players' faces if they're not executing. And while that can be uncomfortable and not always appropriate, I think it's something that Cleveland desperately needed. They needed that passion, that fiery leadership that it can inspire guys to go above and beyond where they've played in the past. And I think that's something that's going to be very critical, and that's something that Jim Schwartz brings. And I'm excited to see it.